Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Masters of Self University podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Lee.
And I'm your host, Morley.
And today I really wanted to share something that I am currently in real time moving through. For those of you who don't know me, I spent the last 15 plus years of my life chasing dreams of really wanting to be an actress and being an on-camera personality. And I definitely achieved a lot of things during that time. But I didn't obviously end up becoming like the movie star and the TV star that I always hoped that I was. Like when I was little, all I wanted to do was be an actress, and all I ever wanted to do was be a host and like interview celebrities and things like that. And I had such low self-worth growing up as a kid that when it came to my career, I wanted to give it my all and make sure that I made it, because if I made it, then I'd be worth something, right? And I spent a lot of years booking things. And, I think especially for my on-camera career, I did a lot of amazing things. But my acting career, no matter how much I auditioned, no matter how many people I networked with, no matter how many meetings I sat in, no matter like even the callbacks I got, I just was never hitting it. And there was nothing else in the forefront of my mind than me wanting to be an actress. Like I had if you told me like 7 years ago that I would actually have a spiritual awakening and I would go on the path of spirituality, I would have knocked you in the face and said, wrong girl. Like there was no way in hell that was ever going to be a path for me. The only thing that I ever saw for me was that I was going to do everything and anything I could to make sure that I made it in Hollywood. Like that was it. Like I was going to be an artist I was going to be a cinematic actress. I was just going to be on camera for the rest of my life. It was everything. I gave up so much to just grind and be in that hustle and that hellhole of a fucking mind fuckery of a path. And then in 2019, when I started doing the inner work on myself, the following years was going to be massive ego deaths with this path that I had thought was going to be my entire life. I had realized and started to understand that actually that's not what I came here to do. My soul didn't come here to be an actress and be an on-camera personality, like sitting across from these stars or whatever and interviewing them. Like it was never going to be what I was meant to do. And like the more that I studied my birth chart and things like that in astrology, I'm like, oh, I really didn't come here to do that. It doesn't mean that aspects of that isn't part of my soul mission, but I didn't come here to do that. And so there's been so many ego deaths that I've had to move through with grieving that life, grieving those parts of me that wanted it so bad, letting my ego just have a tantrum of like, why couldn't I have that path? Why does it have to be that path? Like all kinds of things. And so I have healed a lot. I've healed a lot. I was very mentally and emotionally sick and physically sick from that industry. I spent a lot of nights crying myself to sleep. And, it was also difficult for me because a lot of people around me were blowing up in the industry and I just wasn't hitting it. And now I understand like you were never going to hit it, Ellie, because it was never going to be what you're meant to be. And also another thing is I'm studying astrology right now. And the deeper I go into my birth chart, I came into this lifetime with no other choice but to become a being of oneness consciousness and to really help humanity. Like I didn't come here for anything else. And so surrendering to that has also been a process. And then yesterday I got super triggered because I saw this clip. And recently in my life, this is what I've been observing. Everything on my TikTok algorithm right now is of the old world. It's like the Hollywood, the glitz and the glamour. It's all of that. And I found myself getting mesmerized again by all of it. And I found this old part of me that still wanted that life and still wanted that path. And so yesterday I saw this clip of this girl that I used to be friends with who blew up. She's like a very well-known actress right now. and everybody loves her and she's huge and all this stuff. And I saw this clip, and in this clip, all these other actresses were talking about how they wanted to work with her. And it triggered me. And I was like, whoa. I was like, I haven't been triggered by this girl in a long time. I got to go into this. And this morning I spent time with going into like, okay, what's actually activated inside of me. And I got down to this little girl, 6-year-old me, who just felt, I always felt this from my parents growing up, that there was never anything special about me. Like, it was always like, I always felt this energy of like, oh, she just doesn't have it. Like, she just like, she's not skinny, she's not pretty, she's not smart, she's sensitive, she's always complaining about her stomach. Like, they were always pointing out things that were problems about me. And like, my mother wasn't, very nurturing or loving or kind, or like, let me see like what my talents or gifts were. It was always what she's not good at. It was always where she's lacking in, and it wasn't like they were like tiger parents. I could just feel that there weren't a lot of compliments growing up. And so as a kid growing up, I started to recognize, oh, I'm not that great, and I'm not smart, and I'm not pretty, and I'm not skinny. I'm not all of these things. And so thus creates all these programs of like really low self-worth. And I think that's the energy that fueled my career. That's why I went for it so hard, was because I just wanted to prove myself. I just wanted to show ultimately my parents, right? Because what was getting triggered by this actress girl, was, why doesn't everybody love me? Like, why can't anybody see me? Like, I want everybody to love me. I want everybody to see me. I want everybody to know me for my craft and for my skills and for my talents. And I got down to this little girl who's just like, why can't mom and dad see the good in me? Why can't they see that I'm actually good at these things, and maybe I'm not great at that things, and that's okay, right? And so I spent a lot of time with my inner child this morning, and just crying I was allowing her to cry, and I was crying at just how horrible that felt growing up, and how much that affected my self-worth, and how much it affected my self-esteem, and how much I just wanted to make it in this career to prove to them, to prove to everybody that I am something. Because underneath the I am something is, I feel like I'm nothing. I feel like I'm shit. I feel like I'm talentless and worthless, and there's nothing great about me. And so all day, throughout the entire day today, it's been this, she keeps coming up and being like, but I still want to be loved. And it's this, she has this, she runs this program, my inner child, of thinking that when she's loved by the external, she'll feel that she's worthy. And where I'm guiding her to feel and understand and see is, all of that stuff that you think that you want is superficial. Everything that you want, everybody loving you, everybody seeing you, everybody complimenting you, everyone thinking you're talented, is all superficial BS. It's everything that's coming outside of you. And I geared her to start seeing like, everything that you seek outside of you is what you're wanting to connect within you. And for her, I can feel this shift that's starting to happen with her, but obviously there's ways to go with it. But I had this moment this morning when I was dropping with myself, where I was like, oh, okay, all of this other stuff is like sand through your fingers. It's all momentary. It's all superficial. It's always going to be, I need everybody to see me, right? Think about that energy. And like, that's the energy of Hollywood too. Is like, you're only as good as your last job. Like, you're only as good as the thing that people love you for, and then they'll forget you the next day. And then think about the life you would live when you're constantly wanting that from other people. Like, that is a sad life. But that's what I thought would validate me. That's what I thought would make me have a place in this world. And now I'm starting to understand and see like how beautiful it is to guide me back to myself, and to keep surrendering to the path that I am ultimately on, which is the opposite of the path that my ego and my wounding and all of these things. And yes, there's an artist in there that definitely emotes in that way. And I know that that will be a part of my future, performance art and things like that. It just looks different. And so it's definitely the way of surrender, the way of patience, and just allowing myself to be with the pain of, mom and dad don't think I'm anything special. And what does that bring up in me when I sit in that, when I open to that? And like I've said this before, but there is so much freedom in that, because that's what we resist feeling all the time. And your freedom lies in allowing all of that to come up and be open to it.
Hmm. Yeah, because acting, performing, all that kind of stuff, it's an art form, right?
Mhm.
It's a form of art. I mean, before TVs, it's like it's the all like the people that would perform in the streets and do performances. I always remember like the things we used to watch. It's like the jesters would take the piss out of like the Crown, and you'd see that on like different TV shows. Like it's such an old art form of playing other people, and a very beautiful and cool one. And obviously, in the movie industry, there's a lot of artistry. But as you said, like right now, where Hollywood is at, it's just this gross energy of I want to be seen, please see me. I've got to do all these disgusting things to make my way to the top. And it's anything but like a fair playing field, right? It's
Mhm.
like it's just the energy behind Hollywood and I think the movies coming out this day and age because of that are so terrible.
Yeah.
Like where have they all gone? There's no good, I feel like, movies in the theaters anymore, because all the true art form, all the soul has been sucked out of the artistry of performing.
Yeah.
So the inner child that you were working with this morning, how old was she?
6.
6. And
Mhm.
how old were you when you started to this passion of yours of performing and wanting to be on TV? And when did that start igniting?
I mean, I my parents always took me to the theaters, and so I remember just being a little kid and watching movies and just being completely hypnotized and just in awe of the fact that I get to watch these people on screen and they get to play these characters and they get to feel all of these things. Like that's what I want to do. But obviously, like I'm a kid of the late 80s, and so I didn't see anybody who had my face on in movies or on television. Like you didn't see Asian people, and so I really thought like, oh, this is impossible for me. Like this is something that can never happen for me. And so I buried it really deeply. And then when I started to become an on-camera host and I started booking, I was like, actually, this might be accessible to me. And so in 2011 is when I started really like going for it. And I was hungry. Like you don't even know what I hustled and grinded my butt off to get my foot in the door in that world. And I could just tell, like, probably like 7, 8, 9 years in, where I was like, something's off. Like, something's not hitting for me. And I don't know what it is. And I don't know why. And it wasn't until, I started walking this path where I was like, oh, because it was never going to happen.
So 2019, you like moving through some kind of spiritual awakening.
Hmm.
2020. What was it that you said? You said something triggered, like realizing that that path wasn't meant for you. What was it that initially made you have that realization?
In 2020, obviously, we were all in lockdown, and I was so emotionally fucked up. Like I was so and psychologically messed up from the industry because I right before we went into lockdown, I finally thought I was about to get my big break, and I met somebody who got me in the door to audition for a director for this movie, and she was like all bets were on me. Like she was like, this is your part, go in and kill it. And I was going through a massive not ego death, dark night of the soul at that time. And so I went into that audition and I came out. I mean, I was just a mess. Like I was a mess. And she called me up and she was like, that was not a good audition. And she was like, nobody liked it. And you weren't great. And I remember losing it. I just fell completely apart. And then lockdown happened and I spent the lockdown just completely in like the deepest depression and just not understanding what I was going to do because I knew that the auditioning and what I was doing wasn't coming naturally to me. Like I'm not an idiot, like I know that actually like what I'm really good at is I'm really good on a stage with a mic. Like I know how to host, I know how to do those. That comes very naturally to me. The acting thing didn't. And
Mm.
so when we were in lockdown, I realized that I needed to start really looking at this aspect of me and like what was the energy that was creating all of this need and want. And if I don't make it, I'm gonna fall apart. It was like there was no plan B. It was like this was it, and that was the end. Like that, I was going to make it. And then one day it's a long story, but I'll tell you really shortly. I spontaneously moved out of LA and moved to Texas. And when I got to Texas was when I started having my first ego death with the acting career, because I wasn't in the city where I was going to make it anymore. And it's been since 2020 me allowing this part of me to die. And let me tell you something. I have experienced so much freedom from allowing that to die. Like, my life is very different now, like what I do for work is very different now, obviously. And my life is quieter, like I don't do all the auditioning, all the camera stuff. I miss it so much. And I know that it'll be a part of my future in some way, shape, or form. But I just lead a very different life now. And I'm learning to surrender to that. And in that, I have a lot of peace, because there was so much resistance. And okay, I didn't understand. And now I understand, like, Ellie, surrender to what you're here to do. And the more I surrender, the more peace I find. But, it doesn't mean that there aren't still aspects of me that still need to die, that still need to be nurtured, that still need to be healed when it comes to that part of my life. Like, really, like my mid 20s. Okay, I feel like, no, Amanda, yeah, I guess, yeah, for like all of my 20s into my 30s, yeah, is where I have to mourn and grieve and still allow parts of that to die. Yeah.
And was it the lockdown itself, or like that whole period? Was that what helped or not helped? Was that what kind
Yeah.
of like pushed you onto this path of realizing, oh, I can't do this as a job anymore?
Well, everything slowed down, right? Nobody was auditioning, nobody was filming, nobody was together. And so that allowed me the spaciousness to actually like breathe for a second, because
Yeah.
before it was like, gotta go, gotta book, gotta do this, gotta do it. It's like going on and on and on, and it was never going to stop. And then the pandemic allowed me to take a breath. And then I had time to actually see it for what it was. And I realized in that time, like, how sick I was inside, because of I was losing myself completely to this world.
It's a very shallow industry, right?
Yeah.
Where people are just chasing that position
Mhm.
because they want to be a superstar. They want to be famous. They want to be in the limelight. They want to be a Hollywood star. And that it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Is I feel like there's a separation there from like the actual artistry of
Yeah.
like somebody doing this because their soul really came here and that's the gift that they're
Right.
offering the world, that
Mhm.
they're able to put on these performances which are just leave you in awe and speechlessness,
Yeah.
versus, oh, and obviously it's a collective program that was
Yeah.
sold this idea that to be like the pinnacle of a human is
Yeah.
either you're a sports person,
Yeah.
you know how to kick a ball around a field and get paid gajillions of dollars for it, or you know how to act. Like
Yeah.
they're like the big things. It's you're either a sport or acting, or I guess music.
Singing. Yeah.
Yeah, music falls into that category as well.
Yeah.
And it's obviously all controlled and
Oh, it's sick. It's sick. And it's, you're right on the money with, like, there are souls that came here to be actors. There are souls that came here to be, of course, absolutely. But when you put a very evil demonic entity like Hollywood on it, I was constantly in flight, fight, or freeze. I was constantly surrounded by people who were so desperate. We were all desperate for a part, for an audition. Like, it was so unhealthy and it was so toxic for me.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine from what I've seen on TV and what I've heard, there's so much toxic masculine, like you got to sleep with who hard to get to the top. It's go, go, go. There's no breaks. It's like push, push, push constantly. And as you said, like you're only as good as your last like performance.
Yeah,
And
last
so
gig, yeah.
that's what you're graded on. And so it's this constant thing. And then obviously we've had these writers' strikes for the last few years in Hollywood, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely, the times are shifting for that industry for sure. Um, it's like once you're chosen, you're the ones that are always going to get the part. And hundreds and thousands of other actors just in this country alone, like, but there are probably millions, will never get a chance. And then what does that do to someone's psyche? It fucks you up. And I've seen it in so many people. and there's a lot of scams in it, and they just harvest our desperation
Mm,
and our need, and underneath it is just a lot of people who have a lot of wounding,
yeah.
like me, who just wants to be seen. Yeah.
So growing up, you're carrying this wounding from mom or dad. You just wanted to be somebody, and then you figure out, oh, maybe this is who I could be. So like in your inner child self, like who is it that you wanted to be somebody, to have made it?
I wanted to be somebody that everybody knew, and they knew what I did. I wanted to be beloved. Like I just wanted. That's why I was so mesmerized by. I loved pop music growing up. I was mesmerized by pop stars. Like I would just look at them, and be like, everybody loves them, and like everybody adores what they do, and like that's what I want to do. And like there's also, there's a huge part of me, of my soul, where I want to make art that matters. Like the reason
Mhm.
why that I love acting so much is because these people, I would watch people and they would move me. They would make me feel things. And that's what I love about art. Like when it makes you feel things, when it makes you remember that we're human and we have emotions, and in this realm we can feel so like a spectrum. I love that about acting. It's like that's what drew me in. But then I got lost in the sauce,
Mm.
because there's so much sauce to get lost into when you enter that industry. And so there's the wounding that just wanted to be beloved, and then there's also this part of my soul that like just wants to create. um so yeah, that's really what it came down to.
And then throughout your career,
Hmm.
you did some acting. You
Hmm.
said like that wasn't it, but you were pretty successful as a host, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk us through like that aspect of your journey, how that fits in.
Yeah, so interesting. So I grew up, I don't know how old you guys are that are listening to this, but for those of you guys who grew up in America in the 90s, there used to be this huge show on NTV called Total Request Live. And it was this live show in New York City, in Times Square, where they would count down like the top 10 music videos voted by fans. And I watched that show diligently every single day, 5 days a week. And the host was named Carson Daly. And I would just watch him and I'd be like, that's what I want to do. If I can't be an actress, that's what I want to do. And that's all that was in the forefront of my mind. That was it. That's what I told everybody in high school I was going to do. That's what I strived for in college. And eventually I ended up hosting shows in that exact studio and in that exact place. And I met Carson Daly and everything came true. And I had a lot of fun with that part of my career. After a while, after interviewing like every star, I started to like feel this feeling. And now I know I can put it into words, but it was like this weird inferiority, superiority thing that was going on with me and celebrities, and just celebrities and non celebrities in general, that really left a bad taste in my mouth. And then I also was so tired of interviewing artists for what they do. And I was struggling with, why am I not making art? And like, what am I actually doing? And why am I sitting here asking all these people? And like, I ran serious people pleasing and like would suck up to people all the time. And like, it was sick. And so eventually I got to this place where I was like, this isn't filling me anymore. I achieved what I meant to achieve. And now I want to be someone who actually creates. Um, so that was a whole thing in that too.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And the inferior superior complex, is that something that you felt within yourself, like the
Yeah.
inferiority? Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's all my wounding, right? So
Yeah.
I want to be like these people that I'm interviewing, which means that I feel inferior to them. And
Yeah.
every celebrity, like in the industry, you treat them like they're royalty. You
Mm,
literally treat them like they don't shit. Like it's wild, the things that I've seen, the things I've witnessed. It's insane. The amount of inequality there is, it's just crazy. The egos are so huge. And I fed into all of that. I thought like, well, this is the phrase par for the course. Like this is what we do. This is, we suck up to them. We give them all their power. We're inferior. We're less than, we're not worthy. It's all of that energy that was going on. And after years and years of being in that and doing that, I was like, this doesn't make me feel good. Like, what am I doing? And like, why am I treating myself like I'm less than them, and why am I being treated like I am less than them? Like, what is up with that? And so that was very starting to get really conflicting for me. And then now, obviously on the path, I see all the energies for what it was. I see the programs I was running. I see the programs they were running. Like even this time that I interviewed Jennifer Lopez, like there was so much that I could feel during all of those times, but I didn't know
Yeah,
that I
what
was
it
feeling.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or after every interview, I'd come home and I would be zonked. And now I understand it's like, Ellie, because you're a highly sensitive person and you're picking up on like everybody's energy and you're on camera, like it was just it's fascinating to look back and see what was going on. But yeah, it was a lot of things, a lot of energies and programs I was running during that time that made me feel really low.
And so during the time you were a host, it was kind of reinforcing this part of you that I'm not somebody, and this person that I'm interviewing
Yes.
is somebody.
Yes.
So it's like it's almost feeding this part of you
Yeah.
that's like, I want to be somebody, but I'm the one hosting,
Yes.
and they're the one who is somebody, not me.
Yes. Yep.
I'm even though I'm speaking for you,
Yeah.
got really successful in my career and like literally created the life of my dreams that I was dreaming of, where I'm on this TV show, I'm
Yeah.
talking to celebrities every day. It still had this undertone of I'm nobody, I'm
Yeah.
not enough, or
Yeah.
whatever is in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly it. And it was like I just wanted to be near them, because if I was near them, I would understand how to be somebody like
Mm,
them. It was so much wounding. And again, that doesn't mean that I don't have a gift for this. I think it's one of my gifts to be able to like spit on a mic and be on a stage or like interview somebody or be on camera. But there was so much wounding as to why I was in that career. Yeah.
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 And did you ever see anyone within your maybe friendship circle, or people that you knew within the industry that suddenly became somebody and they completely shifted
Oh
from,
yeah.
like, maybe they were in the same energy you were, where
Yes.
they were trying to be someone, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden they became somebody,
Yeah.
and then that aspect of their ego? Because imagine what happened if you really did make it and you
Yeah.
had all of this wounding.
Yeah.
Like, who would you actually become?
A piece of shit.
Right? Like, with all of that wounding in the closet, like that's what we, not necessarily saying that's what definitely would happen, but likely when we carry that much like inferior superior, oh, I'm no longer inferior, I've made it, I'm somebody, well, now I'm the superior. Like,
Yes.
you saw some people go through that kind of polarity cycle.
Oh, 100%. This girl that I'm talking about, when she blew up, she dropped a lot of us. Like you see it in real time. And I know that I probably would have been the biggest piece of shit ever. If I actually became somebody and blew up, and like I think that my ego would have taken over. I would have run some serious superiority programs. Like it would have been really, really sad. I probably would have been very, very miserable because I'm taking all of my wounded self into that industry and blowing up. Like no one, like when you hear all these like infamous stories of like celebrities being alcoholics and like drug addicts and like losing, like it's like, yeah, because when you give someone fame and they've got so much wounding, it's a recipe for disaster. You're never gonna be happy. The entire thing is an illusion. But to my inner child, it's not an illusion.
Mm.
She doesn't see it for what it is. And so this morning I had to really guide her to start understanding, like, girl, it's like, when it's like Wizard of Oz, and then like you think it's like this huge, like big entity, and then the Oz is like this little grandpa that's like behind a curtain. That's like what fame and all that stuff is. And so, yeah, it's just about allowing her to see that more and more and more and shifting her back to herself.
Mm. Beautiful
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know it, like, this is a huge part, obviously, of your life. I mean, it's what you've done for your last, 30 odd years. But how are you, feeling that this is going to lead into other parts of your future?
I mean, you and I had this conversation last night because, I mentioned to Danny, I was like, I can still feel this part of me that still wants that old life. And I want that part of me to completely die. I don't want that part of me to any aspect of that to be alive. I really want to be in complete full surrender of the path that I'm on, because the path that I'm on is so much bigger than that other path. And I don't mean that in a hierarchy way. I literally mean like, no, I'm here to help humanity. I'm not here so that I can be like cutesy in a movie, right? Even though that's great. I'm not here to do that. And so I want to be fully surrendered to what my soul came here to do, because in the full surrender of that, like all I want for myself in this life is freedom. Like I want to be free, and I'm not free when there's still these aspects of me showing up that are clinging on to that old life. And so I just want to heal all of that so I can be in full surrender of that. And I think that the speaking and the performing and all of that will be in my future. I think there's a reason why I've been in training in that career for so long, right? You and I were talking the other day about, Danny spent a lot of his life career being a bartender at like high end places. And in being a bartender, you have to have insane people skills. Like you have to learn how to mix and mingle with all types of energies. And that's the same kind of skill that I've had over the course of my career, is learning how to speak with people, is learning how to relate to people, is learning how to dance in each individual dance with whoever is standing in front of you. And so I know that all of that will serve whatever I'm meant to do here on this planet in this mission that I'm on. So yeah, that's I don't know what it's going to look like, but I look forward to it.
Yeah. And obviously the work that we do at MSU is all about identifying the programs that we're running and the parts of us that are not the true us, not the authentic self. And the more we heal those, the more we integrate our soul, the more we become who we are meant to become in this lifetime. And that's what I see for you, is like, you never came here to play somebody else. You came here to be yourself.
Yeah.
And to be yourself at the deepest level means to heal and elevate out of anything that isn't the real you.
Yeah.
And, we all carry these different wounds until we heal them, till we elevate and evolve out of them. And I'm super excited to see this part of you, this artist that's inside that knows how to run a mic and perform on stage, but to do it from channeling your soul, from being, a vessel for divinity to flow through, instead of, trying to pretend to be someone else, which again, there's no disrespect for that. I think it's beautiful. I love watching movies like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, sign me up. But, I'm Dune. I love Dune as well. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing where this goes to, and the path that you're on right now is so incredible. And you're right, there's no space for these parts of our ego that are holding on to, any sorts of attachments that are there to fill itself. And you might be listening to this and your soul mission might be to be an actor or an actress. Like, that's not to say that hopefully as Hollywood just crumbles and maybe there's a new platform that gets formed, there'll be some really beautiful artistic movies. And I look forward to seeing movies in the new earth and what they will be like, and how probably elevated they will be and how amazing they will be. I don't see the new earth being void of that industry. It's just going to evolve as we do. That might be your mission. Your mission might be to come down, to heal, to elevate, and give people the performance of a lifetime that, like Ellie, moved them through, being so in tune with all the different frequencies and vibrations and emotions. And that might be what your soul came here to do. But obviously the work we do is there a part of my ego that is hanging on to this idea of what I think I'm supposed to do in this lifetime? And the more that we heal and evolve, those questions kind of answer themselves. Once you transform the energy that's underneath there, your path opens the way. Like that comes back to that thing. I think it's in Conversations with God, like everybody's purpose in this life is to heal, it's to elevate. And then what we do with that's down to our little individual soul mission. But number one is doing this work, is healing, is setting yourself free, so we can do what we came here to become. And Ellie, I know you came here to become a powerful badass. It's funny saying using that word, but badass leader of this new earth. So I know we'll be seeing you on screen with a microphone. I just don't feel like it's going to be the way that your inner child thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Which is great. I'm like, let me I just want to do my soul mission. Like, I just want to do what my soul came here to do. Like, I don't need to be doing anything else. And so, yeah. And that right there, I'm so grateful for how much work I've done to get to a place where I can say that, because that wouldn't have come out of my mouth a few years ago. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So beautiful work. Well, thank you so much for listening. And if you want to sign up for a free consultation to learn about this work that me and Ellie have been talking about, please follow the link below, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye.